of course, you are right that urban construction went overboard in China. You see, there are whole those factories, so you cannot do that forever. But my first point is they want to increase the consumer-based industries. Secondly, as I said, Xi Jinping, the new leader of China, is cracking down on corruption. Because corruption is the source. Of course, we have corruption too here, I don't know, maybe. But in China, corruption is the source of graft, graft is corruption. It's the source of leakages from the economy. And he is now cracking down on corruptors. He is giving them safe. So he likes to increase the rate of growth through these two things: domestic consumption, anti-corruption, and third one is opening the stock market, as I said before, of Shanghai and Shenzhen to foreign investors. Until now, if you want to invest in Chinese stock, you have to invest in the US market or in Hong Kong. But from now on, Shenzhen makes it, bring your money, you can buy in Shanghai. So this is very important factors. Whether he will succeed or not, I don't know. But you are right that India might grow fast, but the Indian model is that the rural area, if you look at my poverty map, India still has a lot of below the poverty line. In fact, it's more like Africa. So of course, that means they can increase that a lot. But the American factories somehow they don't like to move to India. They prefer to China for some reason. You know, China is very open, and people like Mitt Romney, they send their factories to China, but not to India. India has still a lot of red tape and so on. You see, moving a factory is not that easy, you know. You go to China, of course, this is a communist country, but they give you all kinds of facilities. And when you have one industry, other industries follow, because if you spare parts break, there has to be a factory that will repair your spare parts. If you don't know how to do it, it's terrible. I have, when I teach this course in Cornell, you know, or in Connecticut, there is in Missouri, there is a factory producing engines, you know, engines for motorboats and so on. Now they ship their whole factory to China, so that the engines are built in China, very heavy, and shipped back to the US, and it's still cheaper than building it in bricks in Missouri. So that is the extent of what wages in China are moving fast. So there is a point in view, but somehow they don't like to export their factories to India. So what India gets is this brain power, you know, in forces. Does that answer your question? Yes.
Yes, it does. You did mention in your lecture that in Cambodia, they speak very good English here. That's something I've noticed when I've traveled to Thailand. I find there's actually a better standard of English in Cambodia. Even small children on the road where I live speak very good English. And I think, as you say, India developed a lot of software. And there's actually a lot of web development companies here. They're based in Cambodia, but they're actually doing their work in Europe and the USA, which is a nice niche market for Cambodians to potentially get into.
Yes, I think I must praise the Cambodians here also about English. Look at this road here. During the Khmer, as you know, they don't teach English at all. Even during the People's Republic of Cambodia, they teach Russian. But look at now, everyone can speak English here. You know, they laugh at my jokes and so on in English. And also that gives, of course, a very important aspect in your ASEAN integration. Because Cambodian workers who speak English can easily get a job. Yeah, in Thailand, you see when the economy in Thailand is higher, it's very difficult. I happen to speak Thai because I was there 14 years. But of course there is the Philippines, you know, that has English. Or maybe, Catherine, would you like to comment on this?
Do you want me to ask a question?
Yeah, or you or Catherine.
Okay. I would like to know, what are the advantages of Cambodia borrowing from the AIIB or the BRICS Development Bank over the IMF and the World Bank?
Okay. Actually, as if you are a minister of finance, you look at the best rates, just like you in your hometown, Buffalo, you want to borrow for a house, you want to look at who gave you the best rates, but also availability, if you get from the Asian Development Bank, as I said, Asian Development Bank has promised to finance Cambodia's railroad from Point Pet to Phnom Penh and Phnom Penh to Sihanoukville. But somehow they bungled their statistics. I happen to know, because I know the ADB representative. So they only can now finance with their money from Sihanoukville to Phnom Penh. Because don't forget that the ADB, you are competing with other countries to get money to build the railroad. So if Cambodia says to ADB, please build the railroad all the way to Point Pet, ADB just says, I can only give you this much because my money is limited. So the advantage, the AIIB and so on, is just simply increasing the possibilities. Because now, Phnom Penh to Point Pet railroad, they can borrow from China, so it increases your scope, of borrowing. And of course, the terms should be better.
Okay. So do you think there will be any social policy benefits because the IMF and the World Bank usually have some type of contingency based on the loan? So you have to do some type of reform, do some type of austerity measure. Do you feel like there will be any social policy benefit by Cambodia going to these Asian and BRICS Development Bank over?
Excellent question. I think you hit the nail on the head. You see, I say about this benefit, availability of railroads, as I said, and more, they have more money from AIIB and from China. But you are right, the conditions of environment and so on are stricter with the World Bank and Asian Development Bank than with this China and use loans, especially on human rights. China is looking through your fingers, and of course, from the standpoint of Cambodia, that means more money, If the World Bank, Asian Development Bank cannot give me because I have to do human rights, blah, 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 I go to China. But of course, this is a big question that you asked, that we are debating. I'm with the United Nations in New York, debating that the Chinese institutions will not have the conditions of environmental protection and human rights and so on. You see, take for instance labor laws. You see, if America imports textile from Cambodia, the Americans insist that you must treat your laborers fairly. There is an American embassy people who check on the labor conditions here. Because if you are from the United States, if Nike, the shoe factory produces in human rights violating conditions, America will not allow you. So this is correct, this lady has very important questions. But of course, if you are hungry for railroads and so on, maybe you can close your eyes. But this is an important point now being discussed. That's why Obama, when China established the AIIB, Asian Africa Institutional, Asia, so many ABCD, I guess, AIIB Bank in Beijing. Obama was in Jakarta for the inauguration of my new president, Jokowi, a famous reformer. And he said that, no, actually John Kerry was there. And he says Australia, Korea, and Indonesia stay away from this AIIB. Not because we Americans are jealous of China, but their conditions are very bad. So you have a very good question. But for the majority, if you are working for the Ministry of Finance and you are faced with, do I have a railroad from Phnom Penh to Point Pet if the ADB not only ask these conditions, but they don't have any money? Because I happen to know the ADB make miscalculations. Because the head of ADB here is my friend since childhood. And he says they just don't have the money. And of course, with the AI, we have less conditions about environment and so on. But this question of environment is even in the United States, as you know, the pipeline and so on. But thank you for this wonderful question. More questions, please. Yes. Okay, Hai Chun first, and then this. Oh, sorry. Okay, you first. Yeah, and then Hai Chun. No, you first.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies first.
Ladies first, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. I am very happy that I could attend your lecture this morning. It is very interesting. It's really like an eye-opener for myself, and as I am Cambodian, to hear all of this story, and I feel it's going to come like as a package. So that's very good. My question was, I think through the information that you've been given, I have observed that it's going to be a lot of promise for Cambodia to grow and take the benefit from, like a different new mechanism to set up all this kind of different optional bank and this kind of connection. But of course, some part of the slide you mentioned about the four countries, which is Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Myanmar, that we are among the small in the Asian community. My question is very specifically for Cambodia itself. Like, what could be the challenges that you see when we are actually integrating with the other people, with the bigger countries, or they are more developed compared to us? And what could be the challenges? What we should be aware in terms of coming together, and what would you see a risk from this kind of integration as well? And to me, we're talking about Asia, and it's really, to me, it's about like economic growth, Asian integration and economy. But I don't really see a lot of social side in terms of like human rights harmonization between the country, or so I do not use the right word, but really I see the perspective of coming together is really about increasing the income or the economy within the 10 countries. But at the other side, like you were describing about this kind of violation or regulation of the social that you just mentioned. So maybe the summary of the question is like, what could be the challenges for Cambodian or the younger generation that we should know when we're coming together with a bigger country? Yes, thank you.
Thank you for this very good question. You know, I am an economist myself, and so my lecture is based on economic benefits. Now, this gentleman asked, what's the benefit? I said, if you have integration and you can get a job in Thailand and so on. But you are saying about human rights and so on. Now, that AEC will not address that, because human rights continues to be the purview of every country. You cannot say, if you join ASEAN, you have to do this on human rights, especially Myanmar, but even Thailand. Recently there is a coup d'etat and so on. So on human rights and on environment protection, there is no specific benefit from joining. But the economic benefit, as I said, actually for the poorer countries is more economic benefit, because as I said, the textile factory, even in Vietnam, $250, they moved to Cambodia. So economically, there's benefit. You know, I'm a narrow-minded economist, but of course I'm aware of human rights and so on. But ASEAN integration will not bring human rights conditions together. Look at European Union. The European Union is an economic union, but human rights vary very bigly, very greatly in Turkey or in Holland. You see. So even Europe, they cannot say to Turkey, you join EU. Well, they do say that you must not harbor ISIS and so on. So far, if you look at the ASEAN blueprint, unfortunately, it's mostly economic benefit. Of course, your question is very important, but ASEAN Economic Community will not say human rights conditions must be such and such. Because who is the boss there? You know? I mean, Singapore might say there is no human rights abuse there, but you know, I don't want to go into details, but there are human rights. I just came from Singapore. You know, they are not 100% free also there. But unfortunately, you know, that's an economic concept. But you know, as I said, I'm an economist, so I'm narrow-minded about jobs and so on. You know, this gentleman has the benefits in economic terms is quite clear, especially for poor countries. Because textile factories from Vietnam, as I said, let alone from China, with $700, they come here and produce in Cambodia. Yes.
Sorry, because I am so curious. So, in terms of the labor, that is very obvious because we are quite in the wage lower compared to the neighboring country. So, how about the skilled people? For instance, like many skilled people probably in Thailand who their education is better, or the Philippines their education is better than us in the many years ago. Would there be a challenges when we coming for an opening and then everybody is free flow picking up the job and looking, and then for us maybe with a certain skill that we are seems to be very capable and we get a lot of options, but how about the skill in the middle where we probably not so good? Would it be a challenges for the people come in and then maybe borrow some for a job or?
Well, that's looking at it from narrow nationalistic program. But don't forget that your skilled labor who are unemployed here can also, according to this concept, work in Thailand.
Exactly. But
So
small.
if you open up, you know, it's a question of cost and benefit. You know, are there more jobs for Cambodians, and then are there more competition of Filipinos who are unemployed to work in music? You know, they are very good in music, Filipinos, you know, and they will take over all your bands and so on. So it is, you become part of it, like a bigger country, you know, so you have to take, but you also have your people, as this gentleman says, you speak better English than the Thais, you know, so Cambodians who speak good English can also get jobs in Thailand, you see. So it's a give and take. I still think from nationalistic standpoint, I said, you know, you protect your jobs now. But when you open up, you can also work in, I don't know what is your field. In Thailand, maybe you get double your salary. I don't know what is your field. And then,
good morning, Dr. Widyono, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Haijin from Chongqing City, China. Professor, thank you very much for your kind words about China. I have a question. I think the rise of China and the influence brought by which is largely economic now, and very little it's done culturally. So it's very much in contrast to the cases of the rises of Europe and the United States. You can see very obviously through the case of learning a foreign language. I learned English very much because I was very attracted by the history and literature behind it. Less about an idea that I could make money out of English. But when it comes to Chinese, how many people can say it's true for Chinese as well? So my question is, in your opinion, do you think China, the influence of China is going to stop at economy, or is there something else coming up, which I'm really looking forward to? Thank you.
thank you very much, Haijun. Haijun is a great man in my personal life because he took on the task of translating my book in Chinese. this book in Chinese is available from People Improvement Organization, $5. But if you want to learn Chinese, Hechun is now living in Cambodia, but he is a living experience, a living example of China's progress. But now he, of course, is challenging, how is it, how can we more benefit from China, not just the economics? Yes, well, I think since you live here, you all know that Cambodia already has a lot of Chinese culture in it, because compared to my country, Indonesia, which has banned Chinese culture for a long time, Cambodia is, the Chinese society is blended into Cambodia. As I said, in 3 weeks, we will have Chinese New Year, which I think is also Cambodian New Year. I'm sure if you go to Widyono, you will find the most beautiful dragon dances and so on, and lion dances, just like in China. Now, of course, the language is important. That is, for me, it's more difficult, even though I am ethnic Chinese, than English. English is more widespread. But if you ask here in the audience, how many of you are taking Chinese class? So, well, but Chinese schools are also expanding. So I think Chinese culture and values are very important values, like you respect your elders, and also the work discipline in China. When I was in China in 1975, I had the work discipline very important. If they say 8:30, you have to come at 8:30. Otherwise, they punish you by ridiculing you, by clapping their hands. So this work discipline and work ethic of Chinese, and there are many other Confucian factors. But so I do believe that we should embrace not just economic billions of dollars, but Chinese influence in culture. I don't know whether China, maybe you can tell us, China has cultural centers here, just like French have the French cultural center, and they have French movies and so on. Does China have such facilities to help understand Chinese culture, the Chinese embassy, for instance, or other institutions from China? Do they come to Cambodia to spread the Chinese culture? Actually, you have. Yes. Do you have a knowledge that the Chinese embassy here has such cultural center like the French to promote Chinese culture?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that means China is spreading its influence, but I think it's not only economics, because I think they want to also influence the culture of this area of the world. In fact, China is now even in Africa. There are 2 million Chinese working in Africa now. So it's not just economics, but as I said, the French have their cultural center. The U.S. of course has all kinds of programs through their democratic institution or Republican institute. So China does not have these institutions that will promote Chinese culture or language or education. What about Chinese shows? In New York now you have Chinese shows coming to New York. Will they have spectacular Chinese art coming to Cambodia? You know that you know. Any more? Yes.
Same professor for your presentation.
Okay.
Same professor for your lecturing and your answering the question. there is a gap between poor and rich ASEAN country, like poor ASEAN country like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Myanmar or Burma, and rich ASEAN country is Thai, Singapore, Indonesia. So, in your opinion, what should poor ASEAN country prepare in order to follow the rich ASEAN country?
Thank you very much for a very good question. I have a statistic. If you read my book, you know that Cambodia was not always this poor. In 1960, you will read in my book, Cambodia per capita income was higher than Thailand. You see, so of course the destruction of the Khmerus was total. But 1960 Cambodia was already ahead in Thailand than Thailand, the per capita income. And I think now you have progressed very fast, but education is the most important aspect. And I can see here that you come to my lecture even Monday morning, thanks to you, that you come and listen to me. So I think you should be confident. I have been here since the year 1991, I was here during the Paris Agreement. And Cambodia today is so different. I remember during UNTAC, there was only one foreign restaurant, La Payo, that is in South Mine. And this man, the owner, looked down on Cambodians. He says, I have all my waiters from Thailand because the Cambodians don't know even how to wait big table. That's a big insult. And look at now all the Cambodian restaurants, there's no single Thai waiter. So of course Cambodians' mind is as good as any one of us. That because of the Khmerus, we suffer a lot. But we cannot blame the Khmerus for everything. Many of you are even born after the Khmerus. So, but I have confidence that you, Cambodia, will go faster in catching up to Thailand. Indonesia was also far behind because we have also communist uprising in 1965. We killed 800,000 Indonesian communists. Now nobody hear about that because Pol Pot killed more than that. And Indonesia has 200 million people, so 800,000 is like that. So again to your question, first of all, Cambodians are as bright and as developed as all of us in ASEAN, if not better. Angkor was there when, I hope no Thai is here, before Thailand is here. But education is the most important. But not only education and economics, but you must have education in technical subjects. I noticed here many of the universities study economics, politics, but you should have IT, you should have engineering more in university. Maybe you can comment on this. Why? No, it's all right. Yeah, and you have another question.
In recent years, talking about China growth, GDP growth rate, China is working only due to 7.1%. But in 2000, it is expected to be 7.5%, and in 2013, the China GDP growth rate was 7.7%. So in this case, you can see that the GDP growth rate in China fell to 7.4%. And I'm so curious about your ideas and what sort of cost implication that can go from that.
About GDP in China?
Yeah.
Yes, well, as I mentioned before, China has to restructure its policy. Before they grow on the basis of American industry owned by Mitt Romney and all this going to China. But now they have to structure it to become more consumption oriented. Because the Chinese, the girls from the rural area, they go to textile factory, but they save all their money, you see. And that all becomes foreign exchange reserve that the government can do. But the government cannot do that forever. They must produce consumption, you know. Adrian will know that, you know, Cambodians are very good in that. You know, you go to Eon and everyone is full, of course, not the second floor, but the first floor they can go to the food court at least. So China must increase the consumer retail for their own people, produce instead of just export-oriented production. Some people in the back, anyone? Okay, yeah. Yes.
Is there a microphone or can you hear me?
Microphone.
Thank you, Dr. Widyono, for your presentation and for your insightful comments. I have a question about the economic challenge facing Cambodia that I see, and I don't think it's actually been addressed today, and that has to do with NGOs. I've never seen so many non-governmental organizations as I have seen while I've been here in Cambodia, and it seems that they prop up the economy of Cambodia. What do you see as the future for Cambodia without NGOs or without such a large presence of NGOs?
Thank you very much. I think the question, this is quite correct. NGOs here are proliferating, and it's proliferating is somewhat a negative word, are increasing and booming because of government policy. You know, in Thailand, it's not that easy to establish an NGO. My daughter tried to do that. In Cambodia, it's very easy, you know. And of course, they do help build up the society, but it becomes the dependency on NGO and on foreign aid. Don't forget, you know, Cambodians should not depend so much on foreigners everywhere. I used to be advisor to the Minister of National Development Planning, Chia Chandol, who is now the central bank governor. You see, the 5-year development plan was built by big fat foreigners from the Asian Development Bank earning $250,000 a year. But that will not train any Cambodian. So NGO is very good up to a certain point. But when in Indonesia, my country, or Thailand, as I said, it's not that easy to build an NGO. Now, up to a point, as I said, it is very helpful because you help in many cases. I myself am board member, as he says, of 2 NGOs, Center for Commerce Study and the PIO. But we should not forever depend on this. So what I want to say is that NGOs should have more and more Cambodian people at the top level. And the Center for Commerce Studies, which I know the head, is now a Cambodian for the first time. A lady, which is very good because I think I'm a man, but I love ladies, women's rights is very important, I think. And this NGO based in Siem Reap is now headed by a Cambodian lady. And so that's to begin with, that we should have more Cambodians because they have their role to play in their own country. The other NGO I had is also headed by a Cambodian lady. But, you know, what you are saying is too much dependence because some NGOs are also like in business, you know, NGO. So on the one hand, it's good to have all these foreigners helping you, definitely. But sooner or later, Cambodians should take over some of the important positions so that when the foreigners leave, Cambodia can turn. As I said, this Thai person who was insulting, you know, he says, I have all my waiters are from Thailand. That's so stupid because Cambodians, you go to any restaurant, whether it's Chor Changwa or anywhere, are the best in the world, not just, of course, waiters. But I'm saying Cambodians are not below Thai or Indonesian or Philippines.
Before of my question, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your presence on the topic. And I know my question is about the topic of question. For the first question is, what are barriers or risks which make Cambodia economy not grow very fast as the developed country, include US, Chinese, Japan, and foreign countries? And for the second question is, what can be sort of barriers of those things?
Well, first of all, Cambodia has grown very fast, as I said there, 7%, but it starts from year zero because of Pol Pot, as you know. But grows very fast. The World Bank says it's one of the fastest growing, but of course if you start from zero, then you grow. As I said, Cambodia's skills are as good as any in the country, but you know, you started from year zero, you know, so the barriers are, again, as I said, education, but also we have to have companies are willing to come to invest here, not just in Eon Mall or something like that, or in hotel, but also in factories, not just textile factories. But if you go to China, they produce everything, from cars, so they produce more cars in China than in the US. So we have to start moving up. Now that the government cannot do alone. That has to depend on the companies, because these car factories are owned by private enterprises. You cannot say, hey, you must invest your car factory here. You have to give the conditions available. Now Cambodia has a very good investment law. Foreign investment law, Cambodia is one of the most liberal. But you know, you cannot force companies to move here. So all I'm saying is, Eon is a very good thing, but Eon is only for consumption. If you want to move ahead, you must produce the goods that are sold in